often they end in a victory for Beastie, not Recon. That's right, we've got Recon versus Beastie, a matchup that by Recon's own admission has probably about 95% of the time gone the way of Beastie. Let's find out if it does here as we hop into Prairie for a matchup between the Ottomans in the yellow, being manned by Beastie, and our favorite little raccoon, Recon, in the blue, playing as the HRE. An interesting Civ matchup for a map like this. One that, at face value, you'd have to give an edge to the HRE, simply because they do have decent options available to them. They have lots of food and gold because of something you have to remember. Key elements that matter in Prairie, limited wood and a lot of food and gold. There are about 35, 36 sheep, I think, on the map in total for you to grab, possibly 40 even. And there are fat stacks of gold. You even start with an 8k gold vein. What you do not start with is a lot of wood. That can be a problem for a Civ like the Ottomans if you want to play Prolonged Feudal. Because remember, Ottoman players' popular build has been to mass archers and win via death by pew-pew for your opponent. But what we have started to see is the evolution of the Ottomans. A Civ that was once just all about this feudal all-in, build an army, and pepper them to death, has kind of changed into the Civ that has a few options. And one of the interesting ones they could explore here is the fast castle build. See if BC wants to go that way, or if he's going to try to feign early aggression. Keep in mind that if BC does go for the fast castle build, he will be allowing an HRE player to get their castle age timing for free. There will be zero pressure and full greed available to Recon. And I'm curious to see what he wants to do, because there are two approaches for the HRE in this map. We have seen the Burgrave build, but we've also seen Regnants be just as feasible still in this day and age, and it depends how quickly you want the game to end. One thing I will say, Burgrave on a map like this has an incredibly strict timing to make work, especially if you do not get enough sheep. We even watched Recon earlier today play up against State, where he had that issue. He went for a Burgrave build, he played a bit passive, didn't get the most active or impressive timing, and also I think he only got about 12 sheep, which is simply not enough for Burgrave. So, we have a count right now. This game is looking better. 16 sheep so far, and a few already clubbed down. So, very even split. Only 22 accounted for on the other side. 26. So, I think we might have most of the sheep locked in. Maybe 2 or 3 stragglers remaining. This is still not a phenomenal number for Recon. So, we'll see if he actually wants to go to the Burgrave. Most maps, Burgrave, you have a few minutes of opportunity to make serious damage happen. And usually what you'll see is like some Burgrave builds won't end the game. The player will fall back and then go for a later timing. One thing I would want you guys to be mindful of here on Prairie is if you don't hit your timing with the Burgrave, and it's a very small window, smaller by about 2 minutes than other maps, game's kind of over. You very much win or lose with a Burgrave player. So we'll see if Recon wants to go in for that timing. It's weird to see Recon really kind of hard investing in the Burgraves when I watched HRE recently as well. For those that don't know, Recon is a very defensive player. If you actually look at his most played civs and the way a lot of his games play out, he's very comfortable with the idea of allowing his opponent to throw themselves at him over and over again, and then coming in later from a stronger position down the line. Going Burgrave doesn't really play that way. Burgrave's quite the opposite, right? Compare it to Men-at-Arms spam from English and Castle Age, completely different, right? That's the type of civ that just does it to cover their later timing. When HRE players often do Burgrave spams, it's simply because they are looking to end the game. But this is very different. Look what Recon's doing. An HRE player is moving forward for an outpost rush. I mean, I say an outpost rush. We're almost 7 minutes in the game, but prime opportunity here. He gets the Men-at-Arms out. That's going to push away the villagers, and 3 of these villagers will build up the outpost. And remember, these are age 2 Men-at-Arms. You don't actually do enough damage to them. You're only doing 3 damage per strike. The villagers can't do anything. What a play from Recon. Tempered aggression. He'll still play for a later timing, but this will starve out Beastie, because look what he was doing. We talked about the way that you address the HRE here. You don't want to play archers with limited wood up against a civ that builds heavily armored units. Beastie wanted Castle Age. Recon will take it away though, but not for long enough. Beastie with a quick pivot moves north. Recon, he just scouted it out too late. Nothing he can do. Outpost goes up. And now he's kind of just in the hole, right? 4 men at arms, that's quite pricey. Look at the tech up timings. Now it's going to be Recon trailing into Castle Age. Wow. A great idea coming out from Recon, but mistake made when he didn't peel the scout away to find the secondary gold vein. A gold vein that he knew the location of. He hung around on this outpost for no reason. The men at arms were good enough to defend it. Now you're just playing from behind. Not as similar timings. Credit to him. Recon cancelled the extra unit, so he gets the required resources and makes his way up with the Regnits, but Beastie will have a slight lead here. What's going to matter is the relics. In this sort of position, relics should, in theory, at least 2 of them, be easily achievable for Recon. The problem is the metas. Great play by Beastie to play away from the men-at-arms, and now he's going to look to body block. Or not body block, but prevent these relics from being gathered up. Although, if you accidentally get aggroed in like that, it's not going to be very effective. So Castle Age achieved on both sides. As we move past the early game into the mid. Heavy amount of stone being gathered. It looks like BC might be going for a secondary TC play here. Or a keep drop. This looks like a secondary TC to me. I think BC's playing for a much later time in the game. And I don't blame him. When you see the way the HRE player just played this opening 10 minutes, you feel quite content that he hasn't reached his full power, right? He hasn't gone for that fast, greedy timing. He slowed his timings down when he made this investment, so you can go a bit more greedy if you choose. With 560 stone. Okay, maybe it's just going to be a keep drop then. Makes... I want to say some sense, but it's a bit of a weird one when you see the Siege Workshop already here. But I can kind of see where he's coming from. He doesn't want to forfeit more of his map control right now, or more of his base. So keep will prevent the dive into the military school district, and that'll allow him to at least boom an army. But I don't know where you really drop this keep safely, is my only concern now. We'll see what he can do. Definitely harvesting a lot of stone in the meantime. Hell a lot, in fact. Past the threshold. Okay. Chill. I think we got enough. Let's see. It's going to hold on to it for the time being. Outpost spam continues from Recon, though. He has got a staging point, but he hasn't got proper siege here. He built into the Springald. A Springald that did get taken out. Great wraparound coming in from the Lancers that BC built. BC, by the way, is paying full price for those Knights. Triple stables play. Extra military schools have been added in. Up to 4 relics also being gathered up. But only the scraps that are left over because Recon already got his hands on 3 with the Regnets. So good positioning for the HRE player. The only thing that BC can do right now is try to draw attention away raids. But, oh, Beastie. Is it almost time to go for a nap? He keeps getting caught out by these pokes. Beastie will at least get the rest away. He did prevent one of the relics from being returned. That's close enough that this will be 4 relics up of a Regnets play for Recon. A great position to find yourself in. Recon, what is this outpost crawl? I mean, I guess if you're going to run 3 villages across the map, you might as well use them for it, right? Second TC was added, though, so we did get to it eventually. Beastie, adding in a 3rd. I mean, in this situation, he needs to, right? He doesn't have map control. He needs to run villages out and take risks to get gains. Look at the generation. It was not a nice one for BC. There's barely any wood left back here. Long term, he's going to need more, so there will be risks in this. And Recon even brought more villages to the front side. He says, no, you'll never have wood. It's going to belong to me. Spears in the base in the meantime are going to be swarmed over. His Knights look to do some damage, but credit to him, Recon has got enough spears here to be a nuisance. I say that. Bloody hell. The micro a little bit off point or a little bit on point from Beastie. He wiped straight through him. Knights are doing some serious damage, so Recon taking heavy losses. And he's just let loose on him. Beastie will eventually find his Knights cleaned up. This is just ridiculous. How many outposts is this coming out from Recon? We've got 3 at home. We've got 3 in the base of Beastie, or did, because, you know, Beastie, you didn't build enough outposts yourself, so Recon's trying to protect you. Not the more, like, known path for the HRE, right? Not the regularly trodden path. Not what I was expecting to tune into Prairie with. But really, static point defenses are the way that Recon is playing this, and now he's trying to play towards those sacred sites. What a crazy game. Incredible one. It feels like things should be so slow, right? The armies aren't exactly getting huge, but now things are starting to change a little bit. Because notice, Recon has become clumped in the center next to his opponent's base. Keep is going to be built up right next to it as well. Langsk in the mixer, which means not easy for BC to take a fight. He needs to probe and whittle away with these crossbows, but until he addresses the Mangonel, that's not going to be an option. The problem with addressing the Mangonel is the Spring count. It's a disadvantage. By the way, the Spring are now sniping out villagers as well. BC will just shrug through that, though, courtesy of the fact that he is at 3 TC. Recon, of course, just sticking to 1. I like how Recon just flaunts his Mangonel, like, yo, bro, check this, you got one of these? Now, BC's doing a good job of playing the flanks. Recon's a little bit static in his comp play, but ooh, Langsk. An ambitious play to send these guys out here with no tanky units at all. So, realistically leads to nothing in the end. Say that. Recon has lived his name in this moment. He got info, and he's gonna go to punish it. The whole army gets sent up here. Beastie will be forced to garrison. This wasn't fortified, though, so they're gonna be torched down. And just, yeah, I love this. He spreads it out, tries to keep one Lanx on each, but nice priority there. BC sniping out the Lanx neck. Will be able to run away. At least waste time. Remember, BC wants this, by the way. So Recon doesn't know about the 2 TCs at the back. So from his perspective, this is great. An HR, like an Ottoman player is losing this many villagers. Great position for an HRE player. Is true if he didn't have 2 additional TCs in the back corner. This is a bit worrisome for Recon because I don't think he knows. He never scouted on the backside, and now the raid's coming in. A pretty damn big one. And remember, when Recon tried to take out those 2 outposts, he lost quite a lot of troops there. Completely out of position as Beastie does what he does best. Frustrates, wraps around the backside, forces you to come play his game instead of playing your own. Let's enter butchering mode. Lanx, though, on the backside. Crossbows are in formation. Metas are getting cleaned up, so attack speed aura is going to be gone. These static point defenses will clean up a lot of Beastie's army, but he's getting breathing room. Question is, can he break out? This keep is still keeping him locked in his base for the time being. He's still failing to address the siege of Recon. I mean, it's just a great way for Recon to play these defenses where he only needs a keep to defend against these dives onto a siege, and the rest of the army can be a bit more fluid in shutting down the cavalry and the crossbows, of course. What? Are we? Is this the tour, the Age of Empires? The tour of the AoE? It feels like Beastie is just trying to do a lap of the map with his workers here. He's slowly getting around as well. Good lord. Oh, brilliant. Nice. I'm going to raid in again. And Recon is losing quite a lot of villagers. Just look at it. Recon has lost 30 villages in this game on 1 TCHRE. He has got 4 relics, yes, but there's only so much relics can cover here. Recon needs to give some punishment back the other way, but with this comp, he still doesn't have a way of going into the base. Really, best he can hope for is just to stand here. Oh, he's everywhere. You've got to give so much respect to the way BC plays the game. There aren't many players I can think of that can frustrate their opponents as much as Beastie. Some might frustrate through like just sheer out micro and some weird kind of pivot play in a fight like Marine does. But the way that Beastie plays the map wider is absolutely infuriating. Look what it's led to. He just wiped out all the siege. Recon is now heavily eco-crippled and hasn't really got a clear leg to stand on here. The only thing he can actually really afford in mass is Langsk, because the gold is trickling in. Even Spears is going to feel a bit hard to achieve. Look at the numbers. Food and wood is so low for Recon. What a game. I have a feeling we are far from over, folks. Beastie is kind of parked in, right? He's going to reboom fully, go up to like 140 pop cap, go for Imperial Age. There's no rush for him anymore. He's dismantled Recon, but due to the way that Recon has built his base around static point defenses, he knows he can't kill him yet. Bloody give him credit, though. Recon, these Springles are doing some work. They need to as well. And that's maybe a weakness in this configuration for Beastie. And it's why he'll play for that later timing. Because he's prioritizing Knights and just raiding in, he knows he can't ever deal with these outpost points. He doesn't have a burn through. He needs Siege because they're upgraded with the fortification, right? So instead, his goal is simply to play for a later timing. And you can see what's happening here. As the wall's going up, he says, okay, we're going to be here a while. That's fine by me. He'll look to wall himself in fully. Recon, meanwhile, surges once again in the center. I'm going to speed this up a bit. I expect this to be a little bit stalematey. Recon will try to go in, but Beastie isn't offering up any route right now. Meantime, Beastie's looking to break out. Notice he has a garrison inside the trebuchet, so a quicker attack speed to get through the keep. Recon lacking the stone to commit to defending it this way long term. In fact, the villagers can't defend it at all. It's going to be brought down. Raid north side is going to be a success, though. Recon finds his way in. Stabs through several villages, but surely Recon has to have reached a point where these numbers don't make sense. Where he's like, there is only one reason these villagers are out here. He must have more TCs. And wait, Beastie, no, Beastie! Oh my god, you snitched on yourself. One villager to ruin it all. So the keep probably gonna still go up here. It will be slow though. Okay, let's scrap that. This keep is definitely not going up. Second wave, Recon forces the cancel, so Beastie will forfeit the area. By the way, the reason Beastie's been prioritizing these flanks, and he can afford to due to all the extra villages, he's taking endgame resources away from Recon. He understands what this is going to turn into. He understands what Recon likes to play towards. Same as Beastie. Getting into these hyper late game situations where whoever got more of the map won. And by taking these resources away first, he can then eventually fall back to his side and take those resources, which will put him at net positive when you look at the end results. So pretty smart play by Beastie. But notice that Recon has had enough of his shenanigans. We have vision now, folks. Recon has laid the area with outposts. There will no longer be sneak throughs, so easily achieved. Langs, will even claim a few freebies here. All-in's almost complete for Beastie, though. He's going for the full confinement on himself. Recon. He's going to go Imperial now. This has to be the recovery point. He's got a great army. This is enough to hold Beastie at bay. You just tech up now, and I think Beastie's going to do the same. Look at the savings. Beastie has started to set up the farms as well, so he's protected long term. Yeah, folks, it doesn't happen often on Prairie, I feel like, but prep yourself. Buckle in. This game will be going for quite a while. They've both got farms set up. We're both hitting into Imperial Age. No one's taking a win in the next 5 minutes in this. An interesting choice from Beastie into the Seagate Castle. Remember, this is the one that allows you to move quicker with traders in range, while also acting as a keep. Wonder if we'll see an attempt at trade here. Yeah, Beastie. So this play onto the stone outcropping, this will be a keep drop afterwards. If he can secure a keep here, he can set up trade in the back corner. Very difficult to stop. Alternatively, he could just go south side. Either way, though, he will need to cast on that corner to cover it. So Recon's goal is going to be to stop that from happening. He needs to try and float units on the flanks. Just be aware of the possibility that Beastie will be heading there. It's actually crazy to think that Recon is still playing full naked open base like this. Like, these guys could not be further apart in terms of their approach. Fully walled in. The keep is enclosed, my lord. Oh my god, raiders everywhere. Even the health bars on the HRE villages represent exactly that they've been raided non-stop. This is actually more accurate of the times, right? Like, there was no healthcare. Why are all these people healthy in Beastie's base? I'm not immersed. Villagers should be kind of weak and scrawny like this. Flash in the center, though. A forced fight. The Lang's just riding on in. And they're buffed up as well, right? Yeah, they have got the inspired buff on them, so they are hitting hard. These Langs can clean house. And they're elite Langs, so they're doing 24 damage per strike. Springle's going to be protected. Mike, what is this back line? Recon just cleaned him up. Oh my Gideon. Look at them go. He's even buffing the Springles. Recon. Classy bugger. Oh, you love to see it. All right, I'm not fast forwarding anymore. We've reached the truly interesting point here. Now, keep in mind that while Recon is looking a bit frisky, looking a bit fun with this, he has serious long-term eco issues. Like, he can't afford to lose an army right now. He wouldn't be able to replace it. Beastie, on the other hand, can. So that's something to be mindful of. Beastie, by the way, isn't actually Rapido replacing his army. You may notice. He's prepping for a switch. Look at this. Are we going Mass Knights? Up against Lansk and Smith? Nah, it can't be. Folks, there's no way. Is BC just trying to play his typical... Yeah, he is trying to play typical strat. Okay. So BC likes this type of approach, right? Mass stables and then play wide flanks and kill his economy. Recon's not going to make it that easy, though. He's forcing a fight towards your base. He's got Palace of Swabia reboosting him. So you can see that... Look at the eco count, right? Think about the lead BC had. I think he was doubling up at one point. Recon has now shrunk that gap, courtesy of the fact he's at 4 TC effective with the Palace of Swabia. Now, he's starting to turn the screws. Love the mangoes being buffed as well. It's only a little bit of damage. Every single piece of this just boosting him up. I love to actually see the Inspired Warriors make a difference. It feels like it's actually been a very long time since I've seen an HRE game where Inspired Warriors was making a difference. But with this Lanks it is making all the difference. It's allowing him to just get through the front wave of BC's troops one swing sooner on all of his Lansk. That is going to change, though. The plane to biology is going to allow BC to tank a lot more. Question is, are you thinking Knights or Horsemen here? Because Horsemen and Knights both have the issue. You lack wood long-term. You also lack gold long-term. You haven't set up trade. So it feels like both comps have like potential weaknesses. I have a feeling this is going to be a Knight play coming out from Beastie, though. Yeah, he's just continuing to produce them. So we are going to just have elite Knight spam. And could it be? Yeah, okay. So this outpost will just be to keep an eye on the attempt at trade from Beastie. I love that Recon's keeping his eye on this. Like, Recon, for those that don't know, this guy has a nickname from me. I called him the Tricky Trader. I've never seen a guy so frequently do trade without other people knowing. So if anyone is going to suspect trade in an AoE 4 game, it's going to be him. Oh, hello. Look what he spotted here. He knows the stone's being gathered up here, so maybe this is where the trade is going to be attempted. BC with the pull of villagers over to try and deny the keep. He's going to be able to do it. Too many yellow villagers in the area. But Recon now on the way to punish this. Sending in the Lansk. Sacred sites have also been captured. BC is yet to decap. So has to worry about that, but no rush here. It only just started on the timer. So over 9 minutes until victory there. Bombards are moving up though. Keeps to be taken out. Lanks to ride through. Beastie, he's going to try to force the cancel of the keep, but not going to be good enough. He needs to run away. He did get the early info. Will look to make his escape, and this is the thing for Recon. If he wanted to kill the villagers off, he needs to pull the spearmen back and let the Lanks in. He doesn't, though. It's an interesting thing that sometimes doesn't get used, but it's very effective, folks. The reason you want to do that, by the way, is these spears are body blocking you from getting in range of the Lanks initially. So if you click the spearmen back past the Lanks, they won't body block them, and they'll rub past them. So then the Lanksnet can just chase it into the villager formation. Just a small detail like that can really make the difference when you're chasing mass clumps of villagers like that. Someone who's looking for mass clumps of villagers. You may notice BC has arrived in the base again, but BC, you may notice that gold vein is gone. Recon is spread out. Oh man, this is not the raid he was looking for. This will be a bit better into the gold line, but the ideal scenario for Beastie is he finds a gold vein being extracted by about 15 villagers and just kills them straight away. The way this has played out, he had to dive into the static point defenses, so his Knights got heavily discounted by all these Springwood emplacements, which is why you see him just running through. Definitely just takes a few heads with him, but overall, Recon, I don't think that's enough damage to his economy. Look at the food and gold reserves. Like, he'll easily recover from this. He'll reboom. Now, fun. Now you want to go for Sacred Site? Then get out of here. Too late for the Sacred Site, son. Dude, Recon is just dancing on him. Beastie has a huge issue in this game. Like, he cannot take a direct fight. Like, he has zero answers to Lansk right now. The problem as well is he's playing kind of behind on Siege, but he's trying to catch up. So Beastie's goal is to wipe the Siege with his Springald Mass. Because then he can think about maybe something like Mangoes or Mass Archers or any answer to Lansk. He just can't engage with them directly. I'm actually trying to think to myself, like, what is the optimal play against this formation that Recon's built? And it feels like Archers is right, but Archers is also very slow. Against this many Lanks and Spears, you could just die. I want to say Mangonels, but Mangonels don't work on Prairie against this comp. So Mangonels would be a really good play from Beastie if we were playing on a choke point type map. Think like, I mean, not Black Forest, we've never seen Black, but a Black Forest type map. Because then Recon's comp can't stagger form and then just dodge the Mangonel damage. They'd be forced into an awkward engagement. On an open battlefield like this, they just aren't. Beastie, so the option is trying to get rid of all that Siege. Is going to wrap around, but oh my, they just stand their ground. Those Spriggles are just countering out the Sipahi. Oh, this game. Beastie Cutie, CG Cutie is being out-sieged right now. I never thought I'd get to see that. What an unorthodox approach to the HRE, because I don't know if people are aware of this with the HRE, but HRE don't really like building range units much. Technically, these are siege, so it doesn't really count, right? Oh, man. Beastie's going to head out again. By the way, Sipahi, it's not really out of choice. He can't afford the gold demand long term. If he builds Knights and does this again, like, his gold's just gone, right? Like, he knows gold is limited, and he's draining it fast. I think Beastie wants to try and find a way into trade, but look at the way Recon's played this. It's like watching someone play chess. He's read the moves. He's blocking the potential ways. There is no access to trade that Beastie can look towards here. To look towards his base to defend. Looks like he will trade out well up against Recon Siege, but now the melee units are in. They're going to chase their Spriggles all the way home. Looks like Recon just threw away the army, though. Interesting choice. Lanks are going to move in to just cleave down those villagers. Do need to respect those cannon emplacements. He does have a second wave to just block any attempt to ride out now by Beastie. And Beastie did ride into the economy, torch a few farms. Guys, I don't actually know how you gather wheat from a burning farm. Are you essentially just gathering bread, baked bread at that stage? Is that how that works? Can someone explain physics to me? Is that that's not even, I mean, it's physical existence, so it kind of counts. Can someone explain advanced agriculture? Is setting your wheat on fire just a life hack to making bread quicker? We find out in this episode of Age of Empires 4. The answer is no. He definitely did not get that bread. He's trying to get that Springald. Gets baited in a little here. Sipahi. Wrapping around. Look at the staggered formation. This is important. Beastie. He doesn't want to give the value to the Lansk. Might be forced to either way. The Spearman, he's just wiping him out. Where are the archers actually from Beastie? There's barely any here. Oh my god, it's the deceit. Most of the archers are in the Spriggles. Siege Bombards, though, coming into play now. Horseman mass being produced by Recon. Second wave of Siege is holding back for the time being. Choke point fight, mostly even for the moment, but now you start to see an advantage. Recon with the second wave surging in. Beastie needs to retreat away. Siege too expensive at this point. Can't afford to lose them, but can't afford to sacrifice the Bombards either. Holding the choke point, where they're clustered up and the AoE damage can come in from the Great Bombards. Recon will be reset for the moment, but Spriggle's now rolling in. Trade out will favor Beastie. Immediate retreat away from Recon. Remember, Recon can afford to lose Siege at a disadvantage as long as he gains ground because he has more ground to play with. The key detail there is all the wood. And thank God for that. Beastie, if this had been a cannon placement, that's 30 villagers gone. By the way, look at the villager count now. They're both down to double digits again. This is an absolute slog. 70 units have been killed by Beastie, eco units. 105 have been killed by Recon. What a crazy game of Prairie we're witnessing here. And it's far from over still. Nobody clearly losing out, although BC gaining some ground. Needs a front line to defend with, and, well, wouldn't you know it, more Sipahi on the way. Recon needs a little bit of time to reset. Love the fact he's going back into Langsk. Langsk can actually clean up these Sipahi so quickly. It's especially problematic, because remember, this is a crazy interaction. Like, you want to try to use the Fortitude when you have numerical advantage up against your opponent in the situation, but if you use Fortitude and there's a few Langsneck in there, they're going to do 50% more damage to you. So much for all that extra health from biology. You'll just be wiped. Things that are getting wiped in this game are going to be the keeps. It's greater Bombard time, baby. I'm so glad I get to see them. I don't feel like I've actually cast a 1v1 where I've gotten to see great Bombard so far. Good to see the bad boys in action. They'd be able to carry Beastie through to a victory. To find out, Recon taking his time. Rebooming to full military strength. Notice the composition here. Half spears, about 35% horsemen, and then the rest Langsk. So just enough Langsneck to prevent Beastie with his mass melee from committing to a mass melee fight. It's pretty crafty. Another detail to keep in mind is it's very difficult for you to actually protect these Great Bombards now. Great Bombards eat into your pop cap, and you've built a composition that doesn't stop a wraparound from horsemen. So Recon's goal here is to use the horsemen to wipe out the Bombards, and the Spearman Lanks can win the main fight. So actually a solid plan, but it comes down to BC walking out, and that's why BC is stopped at this choke point. If he comes out too far from the walls, he can't control the flow of the battle. He can get wrapped on. If you lose this army at this stage, you can see the numbers to Beastie. It's not impressive. 400 gold a minute will not allow him to replace the loss here. Beastie making sure some losses are occurred for Recon. Losses are occurred. Words tonight for me. Incurred. It's actually just crazy to look how many are dying still, though. 131 villages killed, 80 villages. Good God. And now the main fight. Look at that. This is what I was talking about. It's essentially a bait-in situation. Beastie needs to hold, though. Look at the push-in. A heavy push through. Needs to turn around with the bombard to get maximum strike damage. That lumber camp is MVP right now. That lumber camp is allowing him to split the fight into two. Recon will not give it away easily, though. Look at the spread. Wide. It's a concave formation. He knows. Beastie cannot fight out from here. If he tries, he will die. And yes, you are right. No walls, just towers. Recon says, I have dominion over all. And Tricky Trader has arrived. My boy is in. Recon is trading. Everyone remembers the Wham is trading meme, but the true one is Recon is trading. It feels about as typical as welcome to another game of Age of Empires 4. Because you'll say it as often as that. A Civ that you never see trade is sneaking it. There's still gold veins remaining, but he doesn't care about it. He's played this like a true Mongol spammer, something that actually Recon was when he first started playing OE4, so it's somewhat fitting. 46 minutes into the game, we're going to see HRE trade. Looks like Bombards are going to be playing the flank, so nice play here, actually. Recon has a brilliant option to open up the flanks. If he brings a Bombard round and kills the keep, he can then open the wall, and Horsemen can flood in. The logic here is instead of trying to keep fighting this choke point pointlessly, you can just force Beastie to, funnily enough, experience irony. The playstyle that he's known for, this type of style, where you wrap him with cavalry and prove yourself to be a nuisance. This cavalry, however, not so frustrating right now. Not with all the cannonballs being hurled against them. Is Beastie? Okay, yeah, he's rebuilding the villages. I just keep looking at the count. Like, the problem is, like, we don't really catch it quite often, but down here on the south side, BC's losing a lot of villages because he has to keep coming out into contested territory. And then he gets wiped out by a few troops, a few Lanks here and there. You can just see it in the count. Between these two players, just shy of 250 villages have died. Absolutely crazy game. Yep, BC does do this well. But just to bring more details on this, the thing that BC does really well at this stage in the game is he plays the flanks, and he essentially drags you away from the center. But if you may have noticed, Recon isn't always being distracted by this. The approach to build outposts everywhere has actually stopped these raids from being effective anymore. It means that Recon doesn't have to divert his whole force to a flank. He just guards the center. And it's why Recon is able to play this weird comp where he isn't walling at all. He doesn't have to worry about a flood through of cavalry because the damage to them from all the towers makes whatever remains damage, whatever units remains damage output, new. Keep going up. So Beastie, he knows he needs to stop this trade. The tricky trader cannot be allowed to have his goodies. He's only up to 9 right now, so it really is very much in its early stages. You have to do something drastic to block it entirely. Lanx running in. Beastie, he can get pinched before he finishes this. Horsemen need to run past. Lanx need access, and they're going to get it straight away, cleaving in. It's going to be tight. Beastie just about gets it, though. Horsemen dove a bit too far past. They went after the bombards. And look at this. I think this is the first for me casting Ottomans. The Revolta are in the field. A damn good solution against Lansk. Keepers up. Beastie pivots his attention north side. Not out of choice, but out of necessity. Recon now redirecting siege workshops in this area, but mass clearly on Beastie's side. Recon has got a sizable force of Langsneck building, though. What the hell is that unit? Yeah, why did they get Revolta? Because the Turks, the Ottomans. There were some smart cookies. Recruited all the smartest people. At least that's what my EU4 run-throughs tell me. Of course they'd have the technology. Let's wrap in, though. Make no mistake about it. This is good play from Beastie, but he's still playing a comp that cannot be replaced. Wood income is down to 0. Gold income is below 400 a minute. If he loses the siege, he could clearly just instantly GG this game because it will be over. Meanwhile, on the other side, Recon is playing Beastie strategies against him. They both love this style, but only one player has reached its full potential at 50 minutes in the game. Recon, with over 10,000 resources in the bank spread across multiple avenues. Beastie only with food. Clash comes out. Horseman wrapping in. Backside being stabbed at. Siege is about to be exposed. Lanx wrapping around. Front line is gone. Recon doing enough damage here. Wiping the army. Beastie being reset and crumbles under the pressure. Bombards with nowhere to run. Nowhere to hide. Wave after wave coming in. And Recon has crippled Beastie. The Bombards barely still stand, but the price has been paid in blood. And soon it will be paid in splinters. Beastie was trying to trade. He was only just beginning, but now he has no easy way of defending it. Recon, look at the Congo line. Good God. The rebuild speed is gonna make you As there could be only 1 degree from here. The HRE is about to go on a killing spree. Oh my God, that rebuild speed. Meanwhile, Beastie, we went from barely any front line to no front line. It's Janissaries, archers. The Sipahi rebuild is slow. I think he just paid for a bunch of wood. He bought it. That's the other thing that makes this worse. Remember what he has to pay for traders. Look how many marketplaces are here. He needs to get wood for the traders. He can't get any. The tricky trader has at least been blocked, but the earnings speak for themselves. And he'll get access again. Bombard's moving in. Recon, he smells it. He understands. We have God vision. We know perfectly well how weak Beastie is right now. And Recon is about to find out as well. Horsemen pushing in. Where's the front line? There isn't one. Bombards are all going to be taken out. And that should be it. Beastie with no easy way to reboom. Military is a quad up in favor of Recon. Trade can reconvene for him and be a pipe dream for Beastie. And while his walls may stand for the moment, they will not last long. Funnily enough, in this situation, The HRE are the Ottomans, and the Ottomans are the Byzantines. They can hide behind their walls, but only for so long. What a game out of Recon. The dance around the map, the huge eco boom from Beastie that somehow Recon clawed back. The prioritization on outposts to deny the raid-throughs and refuse to give in to the overwhelming cavalry pressure has led to this moment. Recon will take the win.